Oh, the nostalgic 90s. So much was changing in the world. The information age arrived with the World Wide Web. The Simpsons and South Park redefined cartoon shows. Bill Clinton became a household name. India opened up its economy for the world. And China got strong. China got really strong. A giant paddy field of a nation was transforming into an economic behemoth. For investors, it was the destination to invest their money. China's newfound economic might combined with its gigantic market size led to changes in the global world order. And tiny Southeast Asian nations soon found themselves at the mercy of their giant neighbor. The entire South China Sea became China's personal pool. China set the norms, claimed new land, and constructed new islands. No one protested because of the fear of China's wrath. Fast forward to 2021. Sleeping samurai Japan is up alive and kicking. Cool, carefree Aussies are getting nuke-powered submarines, and India has emerged as a better investment destination. Tiny Southeast Asian nations are not at the mercy of China anymore. China is now at their mercy. Hi and welcome. This is TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host, Atul Mishra. This video will be a quick refresher of how changed equations in the Indo-Pacific has left China at the mercy of ASEAN nations. Let's begin. The establishment of Quad and the popularization of the Indo-Pacific region has brought the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, to the center stage of regional geopolitics. At this juncture, China has become highly vulnerable, and Australia is leaving no stones unturned to get back at China, be it the AUKUS deal, the regulations on foreign investments, or dragging China into international forums for its human rights record. In such a situation, China has no option but to be at the mercy of its ASEAN neighbors who are deciding to either support or oppose AUKUS. It is high time ASEAN realizes that China is at the mercy of the ASEAN member nations to sustain the thin veil of deceit to show itself as a strongman. The realization will be a big setback for the Chinese Communist Party, given it is the unified ASEAN market that has helped China sustain somewhat economically. The regional organization has never shied away from capitalizing on the Chinese investments while trying to balance it in the security arena with the US engagement in the region. China is lobbying Southeast Asian neighbors to oppose a US-led three-way security treaty, AUKUS, that would allow Australia to launch nuclear-powered submarines. But the task may end up becoming counterproductive. Late last month, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi warned that the new trilateral agreement between Australia, the UK, and the United States posed concealed threats to regional peace and security. During separate phone discussions with counterparts in Malaysia and Brunei, if Australia were to obtain submarines capable of carrying nuclear missiles, he said, it would increase the risk of nuclear proliferation and trigger an arms race in the region. Wang's comments, which came 2 weeks after the unexpected AUKUS announcement on September 15th, were generally interpreted as Beijing's official response to the new Anglophone defense contract aimed at limiting China's regional dominance. The United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia have announced a historic military collaboration in the Pacific. However, many believe it will be difficult for Beijing to win over politicians in Southeast Asia, where opinions on the AUKUS deal are still divided. The economic dynamics of East Asia saw a sea change with the bursting of the 1997 economic bubble and the subsequent crisis. However, as the South Korean, Japanese, and Taiwanese companies were impacted heavily, China was able to leap ahead of these countries economically. Following Beijing's entry into the World Trade Organization in the beginning of 2002, the ASEAN nations increased their engagement with the CCP. This engagement only deepened after the 2008 financial crisis, which ended the US unipolarity in real terms. The benign outlook of China made it an acceptable norm to do business with China. In addition to this, with the entry of Xi Jinping, things became more complex, as ASEAN needed to secure its sovereignty as well as keep the investments and trade coming. With the BRI investments pouring in, examples set by Laos and Cambodia show how too much investment can make it hard for the recipient country to say no to any CCP requests and projects, subsequently becoming a new colony of Beijing. While the risks are ample, the profit has been too lucrative to resist. Trade between China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, increased from $8.36 billion in 1991 to a whopping $685.28 billion in 2020, an average annual growth of 16.5%. This means, in spite of the increasing intensity of geopolitical risk from Beijing, the member nations are still not show which is important: absolute sovereignty or compromising some in favor of continued Chinese investment. Members of the ASEAN community, such as Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia, are among the most visible victims of Chinese bullying. As part of its 9-line claims, China claims practically the entire South China Sea, and it often harasses fishermen and other nautical elements of Southeast Asian nations in the hotly contested region. Following Trump's tariff wars with China, ASEAN became a crucial export destination for Chinese manufacturers, and the Jakarta-based regional body became China's largest trade partner last year. Australia is already at odds with China economically, and it has openly backed the democratic island nation of Taiwan in an effort to put further pressure on the Chinese leadership. For the past year and a half, China's trade conflict has aided Australian businesses in diversifying their supply networks. The Australian economy has resurfaced stronger than it has ever been. Acting on this, the Scott Morrison government is now urging Australian businesses to diversify their markets beyond China. The Australian government has now put in place a range of support measures to help businesses find other markets, diversify supply chains, and compensate for lost exports to China. The trade numbers of ASEAN-China trade are the only hope keeping China's economy barely afloat. With the Western countries having increased their geopolitical engagement in the region, the CCP cannot intimidate or browbeat the regional bloc. It can only request support. For now, the region seems divided, with the Philippines and Singapore reacting positively to the deal, while Vietnam, the most vocal critic of Chinese claims in the South China Sea, appeared to be cautious. On the other hand, even though nuclear weapons are not part of the plan, Malaysia and Indonesia, which had previously warned against arms race and nuclear proliferation, said after their foreign ministers met in Jakarta on Monday that they were still worried and concerned that AUKUS could lead to an arms race in Southeast Asia. While the concerns are legitimate, the bloc is fast realizing the cost of Chinese investments, and as it realizes the position of leverage, CCP will find it increasingly difficult to engage with ASEAN, on whose mercy it is sustaining.